ago with your trip to Columbia?
Yeah, it wasn't very fun. I remember that. Very loud, very hostile, typical SEC environment. So, we understand that the importance of kind of starting fast, don't get behind the eight ball, so to speak, but also, this is the SEC and not everything's going to go your way, and you got to be able to handle loud crowds and in loud environments. Sorry. And so, we don't know how the game's going to go. We know how we would like it to go, and kind of keep that crowd out of it. But we've been practicing crowd noise last weekend, this week, so hopefully we'll be able to execute at a high level with that crowd noise.
Have you been practicing was it just crowd noise or the same music as they play?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Their Sandstorm song, fight song.
So what you talk about, you got to get off to a quick start. Sterling Bailey said the same thing. Is there something, without giving away the game plan, do you have something planned? Do you have set plays already?
Yeah, I would say yes and no. It's still Tuesday. It's still pretty early. We have a good idea what we're going to do. We're still adding stuff and taking out a few plays here and there, but we have a really good idea what we're going to do. I would say when we say start fast, we mean, maybe ideally like come out and like Texas A&M did, put a long drive together and for it to result in 6 or 7 points. But maybe it's just, you get 2 first downs and you change field possession. Maybe you don't end up scoring, but you punt them and they have to start inside the 10. That's still a great way of starting fast. Ideally we would like not to come out and go 3 and out. So, we'll see. We got to be able to execute with crowd noise, and we've been working on it.
A lot this week has been made about the fact that it's going to be you versus the South Carolina secondary. Can you stretch the field? A lot has been made about the fact that Justice Scott West and Malcolm Mitchell may not be available. So I got to put it this way: can you guys stretch the field without the 2 of them? And who are your other weapons if you plan to do so?
Yeah, I think we definitely can stretch the field. We've been doing in practice. We just got to translate it to the game. Obviously not having Malcolm and Justin as our down the field threat guys kind of maybe limits our ability to throw it downfield as much as we can, but those are also very low percentage throws that you're throwing downfield. So, you got to try to keep defenses honest, whether you're throwing the ball downfield and completing them or not. You got to kind of show teams that, hey, we will take this shot, kind of back defenses up a little bit. But, we can't make a living on throwing the ball over 30 and 40 yards. Those aren't very high percentage throws. When we take our shots and we see coverages that we like, we got to execute and we got to take advantage of them, and I think that's what we got to do a better job of.
Does that mean getting the running game going early too?
As far as
just with Todd, just getting kind of taking the pressure off of you and just kind of opening up the field too.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that South Carolina is going to be keying on. It would be naive for us to think that Todd isn't one of our biggest threats on our offense. So we do have to be able to throw the ball better. I say better. I don't know if there's a statistical limit or I'm looking for. I'm not looking for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. I'm looking to be as balanced as possible and be as efficient as possible. Complete as many balls as possible. Get the balls in guys' hands and let them do the rest. And so whether that means throwing the ball downfield and completing it, or throwing the ball 10 to 15 yards, or throwing screen routes, I don't care as long as we're moving the ball and as long as we're being as balanced as possible. And I've said this all along, as far as in our pass game right now, the better we do in the pass game, the more it's going to open up for Todd. And so we do, and we've been working on it a little bit better, and we'll see how it goes Saturday.
You prepared for this team a year ago because you were 1 snap away from playing. How much different is it preparing for them this year compared to last year, personnel-wise, scheme-wise, stuff like that?
Well, scheme-wise, it's a little bit the same just because they've got the same defensive coordinator there. So, but as far as personnel, it's always a little different. They've lost quite a few guys in the secondary. They're playing some younger guys. So you try to get a feel for how those guys are playing and where they're going to be playing. And since it's so early in the season, you really only have 2 games to tell. And, they've been switching the guys around a lot in the secondary and at linebacker position. So, you know, kind of stinks early on in the season, and the same was for Clemson. We didn't really know who was going to be in their secondary. We have a pretty good idea who's going to be in the secondary for South Carolina. We just don't really, know where they're going to be. But that's more on us. We can't really lose sleep over that. It's about our execution and executing our plays.
How much are you guys talking about the game 2 years ago in practice this week?
I think we've mentioned it maybe one time, talking about really just how important it is to kind of keep that crowd noise out of it. And I don't even know, I say that, but I don't know if that's even realistic. I mean, they've got great fans, and unless you're up 50-0 in the third quarter, those fans are going to still be there cheering loud the whole game. So, we can't be naive and expect that, even if we go up 14-0 or 7-0 or 21-0, that it's not going to be loud. Those guys are going to be there long, and they're going to be having fun before the game, and which will help them be even louder. So, we're expecting that we got to execute for 4 quarters with a very intense, loud environment.
Time for one more.
Last quarterback to complete a touchdown pass in South Carolina was David Green in 2004. It's been 10 years.
Really?
What would it mean for you to actually be able to toss one or two?
Would that put me in the record books?
You'd break a streak or a drought.
Hey, that'd be my first touchdown of the year, right? Or first passing touchdown of the year. That'd be a sweet one in Columbia. Hopefully it'll lead to a victory, but that'd be a sweet one.
Thanks, Hutson.
Thanks.
Friday, is that in Columbia or is it